ballot papers. For many years, Zambians have understood the simple instruction that when you enter the polling station booth, you identify the candidate of your choice and place an X in the appropriate box. The Electoral Commission's own voter education material continues to tell citizens that the correct way of marking the ballot paper is by placing an X in the square corresponding to the candidate of their choice. We are therefore concerned by the introduction at this late stage of messages suggesting that voters should now use a tick or some other mark. The question is, why introduce uncertainty only days before an election? An election is not the time to experiment with voter instructions. We are therefore asking the Electoral Commission of Zambia to maintain a clear, uniform and familiar message to the people of Zambia. Mark an X clearly in the box of the candidate of your choice. Countrymen and women, you may wish to know that even the regulations that govern the voting process, and in particular Regulation 33D, underscores what to amount to a valid voting mark, and this mark is an X. We are therefore very surprised that ECZ is coming up with other marks that may not be necessarily provided for under the regulations. In clear terms, it prescribes that voting shall be done via crossing. This is the valid mark. Anything departing from this, as per statute, is practice, and practice is an invalid or a spoiled vote. That is the law. That is what the statute provides. So like I said earlier, the last minute changes, as announced by ECZ Chief Electoral Officer, points to arbitrariness in the administration of elections. So neither the Electoral Commission of Zambia Act nor the Electoral General Regulations of 2016 contemplate any sort of administrative arbitrariness. So no voter should arrive at the polling station wondering whether they should use a tick, an X, a line, or some other symbol. The rules of voting must be simple, consistent, and understood by every Zambian. For the first time, voter in Lusaka, to the grandmother casting her vote in the most remote village, the Commission must immediately remove any contradiction in its voter education messages. Countrymen and women, this is very, very important, especially that we live in an environment where there's a lot of stories flying around. Stories of loose ballot boxes, marked ballot papers. So when people begin to introduce strange marks away from what the statute provides, you begin to wonder. Others have asked questions. Could it be that the said marked ballots were marked with the wrong mark, in this case a tick, and the people behind it later realized that was a mistake, and they are now trying to rectify that by what we are calling administrative arbitrary. Exercise your powers professionally. Do not allow the police service to become an instrument of intimidating political opponents in the final days of this election. Where an offense has generally been committed, the law must take its course. But arrests must never become a political weapon. Detention must never become punishment before trial. And law enforcement must never be selective. So countrymen and women, this is very important, because what we have witnessed is an abduction style of arresting our people. Our security officers who were returning from their training were abducted at the airport. To date, we do not know where our 4 officers are. Just this morning, Madam Ambassador Martha Lungu and one of the media personnel, Hannah, were abducted this morning. Up to this point, we do not know where they're being held. The other people in Mongo, like Chest and IDC, were equally abducted in Western Province, together with 30 others. It's not very clear the reasons for which they were abducted. They want to call it an arrest, we're calling it an abduction. We do not know the reasons for which they were picked up, abducted. In today's case, we're told the abductors were actually firing gunshots. They were driving unregistered motor vehicles, trailing Ambassador Martha Lungu and firing shots behind her until she hit into a pole nearby. That's when they zeroed in. So that is not right. We expect the police to operate professionally. We have repeatedly mentioned to the Zambian people that the police service needs to be professionalized.
Good morning to you all Zambians and all those that are watching us. Kindly share the broadcast. It's very early in the morning. You could be preparing to go for work or to go into town or to go and do something. And the goodness with Facebook is you can just click in and watch while you are doing something else, while you are driving, while you are preparing breakfast. You can just click on that. So share the broadcast quickly. I've got my standard panel, former Permanent Secretary Chanda Kazia and former Zambia Medical Association President Dr. Brian Sampa. Together we'll be reviewing the issues that are occurring 3 days before Zambia holds its presidential, parliamentary and local government elections. And we'll review what the newspapers are saying and the events that are surrounding this election. And you'll have an opportunity to also call in and participate. So quickly share the broadcast. If you are on YouTube, kindly subscribe and also share the broadcast. Let me introduce my guests. Family, good morning and hope you are doing well. PS Chanda Kazia in Canada, Fialofia Talaloko, how are you doing?
Well, I'm doing good.
We missed you.
Yeah, I was running around and I was on the road with my little guy who loves to play football, and they've been doing really good.
So, no, he's such a talented young man, and we are grateful for his talent and the support that he receives from the family. We are very grateful. My dear brother, Dr. Brian Sampa, how are you doing? And how's work?
Okay, work is fine. We are just counting down. It's a very tense moment now. We are really looking forward to the Thursday, because this Thursday is
Zambia.
Yeah, the calls are not cutting. Everyone is calling in, trying to find out this and that.
Yeah. No, it's really of concern what's happening. Let's kick off the show without much delay. First of all, let me start with the arrest yesterday, that occurred yesterday, of our dear sister, Ambassador Martha Lungu. She's our ambassador. She was our ambassador in Switzerland, and she was our permanent representative to the UN office in Geneva. The family is still worried. They don't know where she is up to now. They've looked at all police stations, and she's nowhere to be seen. Together with Hannah, one of the bloggers, Ambassador Martha Lungu is one of those key staff in the secretariat in the brand Mundubile. She's always in the campaign team, arranging logistics, food, and other things relating to the large group like that, moving for weeks on end, in the bush and sleeping in lodges. And also she's been very instrumental to the campaign. Hannah is a blogger. She's the one that carries live coverage. And this is not the only ones that have been detained. Remember, in Mongo, they detained, now we've come to understand, 32 members of the security team. And our musicians and our artists and 2 bloggers, Rooney and Zubi, Chester, the musician, IDC, the comedian, and Felix, the musician. So there's been a continued crackdown on people around Brown Mundubile, and it's a matter of very, very serious concern. They've stripped him of his security, now, his campaign team. And this has even gone to a large extent to derail his Southern Province campaign tour, because all the key staff are not there. And we understand, even with the people he had replaced, they were also going to be arrested. I'll bring the picture of Ambassador Martha Lungu here. I think I didn't upload it, but I'll get it. We are also mourning the death of our dear brother, Mr. Sadanis. He died in a very, very gruesome manner. Things that shouldn't happen in our country. Very, very, very gruesome details have emerged. Chaminuka Luxury Lodge owner was killed in the mornings of yesterday. Stelios Shulassadanis, 64, is a CEO and co-owner of the famous and international luxury lodge Chaminuka Luxury Lodge and Game Reserve, just outside within Lusaka, but just it's in the district of Chisamba, although it's more nearer to Lusaka than it is to Chisamba. We understand over 15 armed thugs, or whoever they are, invaded his home at the resort premises, which is properly well guarded, by the way. Attacked him, tied him, shackled him, and killed him in the most gruesome manner. Central Province Commanding Officer Lemekani Chirwa has also confirmed the untimely death of Stelios Shulam Sadanis, and the police spokesperson has also confirmed that death. Very sad events for especially the business community. Are very alarmed. They stay away from the limelight. You probably know their business than you know their names. And for the Sadanis, they've been in our country since the 40s, since the 30s. I know that, for example, Lusaka City Council, to build Lusaka, they've always been buying land from the Sadanis that came and bought what you call most of parts of Lusaka up to Chisamba. And commercial entities like Minwood and others would buy land from them. So they're a very famous family, part of our country, and the circumstances are very hard. And our appeal, I'll be calling on you gentlemen to comment on this one. And besides others, there's another unique case. Soldiers that onlookers identified as commandos in their uniform stormed Danny Enga, Kabwata MP aspirant on the NRPUP ticket, and picked, Brian Mwila, one of his famous member of his security team. He's called Baba. People call him Baba. And the questions that came, why would soldiers be involved in a matter that is under the jurisdiction of the police? And the family are looking for Ambassador Martha and Hannah. The family of Baba are also looking. They were even forced to go to Arakan barracks because the people that came were seemingly in Zambia Army, 2 land cruisers, and they were seemingly commandos. Whether they were military police or commandos, we don't know. But, the onlookers, from their little knowledge, at least identified the 2 land cruisers and the personnel that were there. These are the events that are occurring today. So maybe let's start, before we go to the newspapers, let me start with the issues that I've just brought to your attention. My dear brother Brian Sampa, you can start.
Well, Ambassador, it is very worrisome when you look at what is happening in our country. For starters, before the UPND government, we never used to have abductions. These were foreign stories that we used to hear from foreign news. But ever since the UPND government came into office, we all remember very well the issue of JJ Banda. Honorable JJ Banda was abducted. He was taken away from his family. He disappeared for some days. Later, in the view of everyone, the police again abducted him from Midland and took him to Mainasoko. Those times when we were hearing about abductions and such behaviors, we never thought it was going to extend to everyone else. But as time went on, remember the IBA person who was killed, the director last time, and this thing has just escalated. So to come and hear of these abductions also of the members of the Tonse Alliance, and these are women. That is the thing. And we expect that women organizations should also come out strongly and speak on this. How do you go and abduct these harmless women? Who you can simply, if you're having any doubts or you want to find out something, investigate something as police officers, they can easily invite them with a call out to go to police. These are harmless people. These are not criminals. These are people who don't even have a record of criminality. They would have just caught them if they needed to interview them. Unfortunately, we are living in a country where there is a lot of hatred. There is a lot of retribution. And as long as you don't support what the government is doing, you are viewed as an enemy. And that's why this must be frowned upon by everyone, meaning Zambian. You see, the issue of Baba being picked up by the military, again, this government has normalized the military getting involved in policing the country. If we remember very well, there is even a video that circulated. Remember the time that there was an issue of gold mining in Kikonge and Mufumbwe? The president engaged the military, and the military went there. People were killed, people were shot, others were beaten gruesomely, like the videos that we've seen circulating. As though that was not enough, several times we've seen the military getting involved in things they shouldn't be. Like last week, we were discussing the issue of the Zambia National Service commander being political. But these things are happening because on top there, the management of the country is really not being done the way it's supposed to be. So if the police saw something wrong with Baba, Baba is a civilian. There's no way the military could come in and pick up a civilian unless there's something military about Baba. But in any case, the police should do their investigation first, just as it is supposed to be by law.
Doc, I remember the case of Chilufya Tayali. He wrote something about, I think, Zambia Air Force and salaries and some details. And the people that handled him where the military and stakeholders condemned that whatever offense Chilufya Tayali had committed was civil in nature. Even if it was a breach against security information, for the military to turn up at Tayari's residence and seek him out, that was quite condemned. Now we are seeing it a repeat in this case of Danny Yenga's security person. I just thought I could add that thought.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ambassador. So we are seeing it with Danny Yenga's security person, but you see, we also need to look at these things holistically. What we are seeing is just the pattern by the UPND to cripple the main opposition. The UPND has the same predictable pattern in everything that they do. If you pay attention, you can even predict the next move. You see, when ECL was alive, they started by onion peeling, following layer by layer every person who was close to ECL. The target was ECL, but they didn't go directly to ECL. They started the Babaman, they started the security, they started by the family members, the ministers, all those people we see now, Chilangwa, Boma Lusambo, all of them were collateral damage. That's what the UPND do every time. If they are following you, Ambassador, they won't come directly to you. First, they are going to peel everyone around you, including innocent people who may not even know anything. That's what they did to ECL before he died. Unfortunately, they are doing the same with Mundubile. They started with everyone around him. They started musicians. What can Chester do, which was wrong just being in the convoy? What could IDC do? What could the other musician do? You see, when you look at the people they are arresting, these are innocent people, but the only crime they have committed is being close to Munduvile. And this UPND government will continue doing the same. So they are peeling slowly to cripple Munduvile. They haven't ended there. You go and arrest 32 security personnel of someone. What are you trying to do? They want him to be vulnerable. They want him to be intimidated. The aim is to make sure that he doesn't feel safe so that they can easily approach. And sometimes they feel like when they get these people, they are going to disclose certain secrets about Munduvile. The same way they were holding on to all these people surrounded ECL, thinking that these people are going to help and disclose certain things about ECL. But this is what dictatorial tendencies are. All dictatorial governments are like this. They make sure that they intimidate, they rule by fear. But Zambians shouldn't be worried about this because these are signs of a decaying government. And as we are seeing, come 13th August, this is going to change. This should give the Zambians more energy and more reason to stand up because today it is Munduvile and the people who are supporting Munduvile. Tomorrow it will be you. Just like we've always given these examples, Ambassador, that had Gary Nkombo not fallen short of Hakainde's liking, today Gary Nkombo would have been defending Hakainde. But right now, he's feeling the wrath of the UPND because he never condemned also what the UPND were doing when he was in good boots with them. So we don't have to wait until something befalls us before we can condemn it. If something is being done wrongly, we should condemn it whether we are in good books with the government. And this is what we are seeing today. So when you look at these things that we've mentioned, it is really a sad thing. Now coming to the murder, now this is another level. Ambassador, in Zambia, we never used to have these stories of 15 gunmen going to, these are suspicious deaths. And the government needs to come in and do a thorough investigation. I do believe that such an environment should have CCTVs. They should get those cameras, check whatever transpired, because these people should be brought to book. It will really disturb the investor confidence when we start seeing people being killed that way, because security alone is one of the things that invite investors. Investors will feel secure if they're in the country. But if we start having people being killed in broad daylight, like in the night, like that, 15 people coming to the premises with guns, Zambians are not known for that. These are some of the things that we should be worried about. Why is crime so high in our country? Right now, there are these deaths in Lusaka and in Kabwe, Ambassador. I don't know if you heard about the 2 females who were killed in Kabwe. You know, every day we are hearing of these murders happening in our country. This is a sad story, and we should all condemn this, and we need a government that is going to be for the people and going to look out for the welfare of the people. So I think for now I can end there. I'll allow the PS to talk about the others.
Yeah. In fact, PS, I want to take another angle. The President Hakainde Hichilema, was very skilled in bringing to light the deaths, and individuals that had died at the hand of political violence. And he sang it at every rally, at every press conference, at every radio and TV station. It stuck in the minds of people that the Patriotic Front was a violent party. But when you look at the statistics, for example, the famous people that the president talks about, Lawrence Banda, Gaddafi, the matter where, Chilekwa and Mumbipiri were tried, occurred in 2016. Mapenzi Chibulu, the death occurred in 2016. Joseph Kaunda and Insamansama, December 2020. Remember the prosecutor. And then Vespas Simujila, the young lady that died in the Unza tear gas 2018. So you can see the famous deaths repeated often by the president in all his speeches occurred in a period of almost 5 years. In fact, 5 years, that's what we can say. But just in the last 2 months, we've lost 7 people to political violence, 7 people. And others unknown, like in the case of Stereos, if we don't know if it's linked to politics, because Stereos was keeping one of the persons that is politically connected, so we don't know that. But let's go to the statistics. The Humphrey Luisha from Kaputa, who died, last month. Stanley Sakala, the driver to the MP from Mazabuka. Nelson Chikumbi, the radio repairer, and 6 others, and 3 others that have died. We are aware of the youth that died in Kafue just last week, and the deaths that have been compiled. The opposition do not seem to be as skilled as President Hakainde Hichilema, who was repeating these deaths that had occurred in a period of 5 years. And you remember that he would not mention the victims that died at the hands of UPND hands. For example, the PF, just at the eve of elections, lost 2 young men, Danny Gift Kasongo and Davis Kavunda in Kanyama, that were hacked to death by UPND cadres in Kanyama. And the famous death that we all know, Jackson Kungo. Of course, you can't say the president should be mentioning these deaths. I think it was up to the PF also to catalogue in the manner that President Hakainde Hichilema has done. Even now, we are failing, even to find the names of the 7 that have died in 2 months. While the political violence cases were for a period of 5 years, we are failing to identify just the 7 and then mention them repeatedly like President Hakainde Hichilema did. I invite your comment, PS.
Thank you very much. When you see this happen in the way that we have seen, it's a source of concern. I always use this term, say, wow, when someone wants to beat the entire group, he starts with one person. When they beat that person to pulp, because they're telling the others that, no, you're not a problem. The problem is this, I need to eliminate the problem. So once the problem is eliminated, when he turns to you, the other person who is supposed to support you, who will also be watching and say, let's see what happens to that person. So the person ends up beating the entire group. That is what I'm seeing with this kind of violence that is happening, and the president's failure to act. We have complained. He came on this very wonderful platform And nobody even ever said, oh, the issue of violence in the Patriotic Front, the way they handled it, was right. He came with a solution to fix it. He said, Bali will fix it. And indeed, when he was appointed, when he was sworn in, he took the oath of office. And from the first speech, it was, he will not tolerate violence. And he used the same examples that you've just used, Ambassador, that Lawrence Banda, Mapenzi Chivulo, where is very good examples to remind us where we were coming from. But Jackson Kungo and the two that were killed from Kanyama, they were not part of his speech. Of course, we understand that he wouldn't use them because apparently at that point in time, there was an indication that the UPND government was reacting to the violence that they were subjected to by the Patriotic Front, and therefore they needed to sort out, defend themselves. Now, he indicated in 2021, 2022, there was a very big famous line. If you commit crime, you were on your own. You are on your own. The president is clear. You are not going to be the new thugs in town. Has he lived to that expectation? The answer is no. You keep seeing people beaten up. Beaten up to pulp, recorded, first of all, abducted, beaten, recorded, posted online, and they go scot-free. And they come back, like they don't go away, they come back. A typical example is Karufiani. I want to give that example. He abducted the friend, beat the hell out of him, posted it online. He comes back. Now he starts to threaten the biggest opposition leader. Say, Mulefwa. What has happened? Nothing to him. And he doesn't even hide it. The people that are being killed, they are not even being mentioned. If you bring up that conversation, it is quickly diverted to something else. Quickly diverted to something else. And the people are so fearful now. The beatings, the killings, now move one step from just the beating and the killings. Fear is properly instilled in people. Because if you comment online, you say somebody government, you will now come to disappear. How do you explain in a government that has been preaching the rule of law, people that we've entrusted our hope to protect us, start showing up in masks, start showing up in unmarked vehicles? They seize citizens, take them somewhere where their families and lawyers cannot actually immediately establish where they are. They disappear from the public view. And what are we supposed to call that? An arrest? People just disappear, unmarked vehicles. And you see, when these police officers who have been trained show up in unmarked vehicles, they pick a person in public view. They have no fear of the law. They have no respect for anybody. All they do is show up, pick the person, and the person disappears. The family starts to hunt where the person is. Where is this person? Where have you taken him? Now, ngatachiri pali iwe, you think it is a very easy thing until they pick one of your relatives, until they pick that breadwinner who has not done anything. Is that the rule of law? You go and, like what Dr. Brian has said, onion peeling, you start to onion peel. Mwafumi hapo, waka yele. Why should we get to a point where criticizing the president, criticizing the party, even if I say what I want to say, why should you be abducted? These abductions, if the citizens don't stand up to stop them, there will be no voice. Because when they are doing this to President Brian Mundubile, the onion peeling him, once they've finished peeling him, they are moving to another person who may be seen to be having a voice that is going to be a voice of reason, and they start to peel him as well. And peeling meaning they will arrest you for anything, and they don't care. If you ask the questions, who arrested them? Under whose authority? What offense has this person committed? Where have this person been taken? Which police station recorded the arrest? Were the families informed? Were their lawyers allowed access? When were they first brought to court, if ever they're going to see the court in the end of the court? There's nothing like that. Citizens should not have to launch a national, like say treasure hunt to discover where the police have taken another citizen. Mwaya mulefwaya kwati mulefwaya ichivi umuntu. Ngana mwishi that you are going to arrest a person for an offense they've committed. Why should you show up in a mask? Why should you show up in a car that is not registered? Mwasendo umuntu. It's high time, Ambassador, that people started recording and actually posting these people that are abducting people. Whether if you're a public officer, you show up, if they know you, they place your name and shame. Oh, Kampande usendelo you. Iyi picture, when this person does not show up, nishinyuya sendele. If this person dies, it is this person that abducted them. You can't just have. We are saying they removed PF for violence, for not respecting the rule of law. How can they come and be worse about it? The guys that are praise singers, they will find a very intellectual way of rationalizing what has happened instead of just calling it for what it is.
Thank you,
As
PS.
that is what you know. They go to, let me just finish up this quickly, Ambassador. Daniel, when did the military, and even you who is in the military, you are not supposed to involve yourself in civil matters. You know it. Why are you doing it? The president, if it is an instruction of the president, you must know the president has immunity you do not have. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. If you can't be abducted. The death of Sadanis, that's an execution style, highly organized. Answers must be given. With investigation, what has been discovered, the public needs to be aware. This is not a way to run the country. This is not a way to run the country. We must change. And because we have been complaining that this is not the way to run, and the president has chosen to ignore the cause, therefore it is him that must lead. We must bring other people to run the country and see where it is going to be. Maybe then you realize all the things that he didn't do right. How long are people going to complain, Mr. President? Abantu bafukufa baleluba apa abulomula ndiko mukuru aluba ale mbafya akantu acha disappear. The people are misleading you, Mr. President. Your people around you, you can't be this rough on your people. Honorable Brian Mundubile has the right to exist and run a political campaign on ideas that he thinks he can change the country. Bring your ideas. Stop going after the people that support him for no reason. You are better than that.
Thank you, PS.
I pray here for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Pierre, you can follow them.
Yes, I just wait. Those nangwa vitenge hivyo vile benchi totizagula vinangu. That is Bernard Kamba and Lusaka businessman Vauden Finlay being moved from Ibex Hill Police Station, Twin Palm, to an unknown location. And they tried to follow, but they were stopped. We don't know where they've put Vauden Finlay and Kenneth Kamba. I received a distress call this morning that up to now, they don't know where Ambassador Martha Lungu is, Martha Lungu Mwitumwa is. They've no idea. The lawyers haven't located her yet. Let's go to the day's newspaper. The reason we are here. News Diggers has jumped on the story. You must have seen a very controversial video of our dear brother Binua Mpundu saying that in this election they will provide ultimate sacrifice, and he says we are ready to die to defend democracy, and then we are ready to kill. Immediately that video was withdrawn, and Binua Mpundu issued a statement that it wasn't his statement, that his video was AI, and that his account was hacked. I'll not play the video here. Those are very threatening words. But I knew the public media would jump at this. Those were very careless statements to say, especially the last one. The first one, we are ready to die, is a noble cause. But to say we are ready to kill too was totally very careless. You cannot say that. I think that's why Binwa frantically tried to distance himself from his own statement. There's been a raging debate in social media whether that is AI or not. When you look at it, it's not AI at all. And I personally looked at it and I think it's not AI. It was just a very emotional, with all these things happening. That's why the camera must be off when your tempers are high. But it was a very careless statement. And as we can see, News Diggers has jumped on it. Let's go to the next. News Diggers, the other stories is talking about Zambia the government releasing 21.8 billion for food security and other public services. They are quoting a statement from Ministry of Finance. Let's go to the next one. Or maybe let me invite you comment about it before you lose track of and thoughts. Then we go to the next one. I think that will be speedier and better. Let me bring in my team. They comment about this matter. Dr. Sampa, the statement by Binua Mpundu has made a headline in News Diggers, and Binua Mpundu has disowned the statement that it's not his statement, that it was AI and his page was hacked. But I've offered my opinion. I think that was a statement he issued, but just a very careless statement in light of the emotive issues happening around the campaign, because it's extremely frustrating what's happening.
Okay, so when I did see the video, and like you have said, Ambassador, yes, that video, even if you look at how it was and everything, the most important thing is Binua Mpundu came and gave a statement and distanced himself from that. Now, that video in itself, when you look at the first part where he said he was ready to die, that is something that most of the people who are with Munduvile are ready to do, because they are living in a dangerous environment where people are being followed. Just yesterday, I saw a video where Munia Zulu complained about people trailing him and even foreigners trailing him. So Binua Mpundu and these others, we can only imagine the other things they are going through. So whether that video was real or not, I may not really comment on that, but what I'm very sure of is the fact that Binwa Mpundu came out and distanced himself. So the fact that he distanced himself, I think the story should end there. Because the most important thing is, even if, let's say, assuming it was his video, and somebody distances themselves, that in itself is a show of realization that whatever was there was not appropriate. If indeed it was just somebody hacking and doing whatever they had to do, because I tried to use my AI tools to check it, and then for me the AI tool was not conclusive because it was telling me that from the visual aspect, yes, the lips were matching and everything, but it couldn't conclusively rule out manipulation because this time somebody can actually put a voice over and then just add the lips and just add the voice, the person talking and all that. So it wasn't conclusive on my end when I used ChatGPT. It didn't show me that. I tried to use Grok also. It wasn't conclusive. It was still showing some percentage of it could be, but this may be an advanced AI. But visually it was saying, yeah, it looks authentic. So that's why I'm saying I couldn't conclusively say whether it was or it was not. But what I'm sure of is that Binwa Mpundu distanced himself. Now, we need to be very careful at this point because, you see, the UPND, their media, and their papers, they were going to jump on this as expected, and we have seen the news diggers. But the truth is, let's just look back just a few days ago. Kalufianya threatened Munduvile. We've got another guy, one of those disgruntled guys who were working with Mao Sampa, said Yadutu Mbuma and he was going to kill Munduvile. He even said he killed Edgar Lungu. Then there was also another guy, Matomola, who said they shed blood for the party and they were ready to. Those are UPND thugs. But nobody did anything about the UPND for doing that or saying it.
Dr. Sampa, you know the rule book. They will never arrest anyone from the UPND. Even the careless remarks by PS Tabokawan, totally unwarranted, based on hate speech. The remarks by Dr. Nevas Mumba, unbelievable, in the name of campaigns. But they'll never be touched. Let any member of the opposition just veer off and see how they pounce on them. So there is clearly selective justice. And the responsibility now is being exercised by the opposition instead of by government and UPND, the ruling party. Because they know they are shielded. Nothing will happen to them.
You are very right, Ambassador. You are very right. Because when you look at what the UPND are doing, with the UPND, the law applies differently. If you are UPND, you can do whatever you can do. We just mentioned earlier, Ambassador, you talked about Chirufya Tayali, who was on bench warrant and now is back in Zambia, or because he's working with the UPND. And then we've got people who are facing minor charges. Look at the SG for PF, Nakachinda. Nakachinda did literally nothing wrong, but Nakachinda is serving right now, is in prison for something that was so minor. But we've got a lot of people who are working. Like you said earlier, there is selective justice. Now, coming to this fact of Binwa Mpundu, I think we just need to forge ahead. We are remaining with 3 days. Let's not play to the gallery. That chapter has passed. The Tonse Alliance should not even bother start responding to anything about this issue. Since he already withdrew, there's no need to focus on it. The ball now lies ahead. Let's focus on 13th August. Let's talk about how we are going to protect the votes. Ambassador, there's something I sent you. I would appreciate if you can show the ECZ booklet that they were using to teach, because I wanted to comment about the ECZ and the mark that they are talking about. I don't know if you are able to...
Yes, it's coming in one of the newspapers. We are dealing with that particular story.
Okay, sure.
P.S., do you have any comments on the matter regarding the news diggers? As expected, we expected they will exploit the opportunity because, they are in this game supporting the UPND.
I have one of the colleagues here. I said, let me send him. He's an IT expert. He consults for cybersecurity systems for government. So I wanted to see how authentic it is. So he says he's going to give me
an opinion.
His view tomorrow. Yes, an opinion. And he when he looked at it, he said, it looks like it was coming straight with what was saying and then edited and inserted. That's what he said. But we want to see at which point that was inserted, if it did, or if it's not authentic. So, Ambassador will be able to give you a clear view on it, I think, tomorrow.
That's
Then, a quick one, on the quick one is that, like Dr. Brian has said, and you have said, and I have said here, is that the selective application of the law, it's like we are in two worlds. This world of, I can stand up here if I belong to UPND and beat anyone. I would beat that person and walk straight away. The police will be right in full. Look at what happened to Gary. Like we were talking, beaten by the guy from State House. He's there. It's not like he was hiding. The next day, he is next to the president. He's next to the president. And the third day, it changes to be the one to be assaulted. Immediately, that guy now becomes the victim. When his actions were seen by the entire country. The entire country saw this guy assaulting this guy, and then things change. And what is so concerning is that the state institutions that are supposed to stop the president or stop the police from behaving in a certain way seems to be all gone. It's like now the people are on their own. And that is why you find careless statements if they are going to be given like that, because they are given in that anger that if I'm going to be killed and the state which is supposed to protect me is looking at me being attacked, being beaten, why shouldn't I defend myself to the same measure? And if that person is not lucky enough, I'll beat that person to death. Because the systems that are supposed to defend me are watching me get butchered. So should I get butchered and leave my family suffering when the state that is supposed to protect me is actually watching right there? And by the way, they even get my money from the taxes. I pay them, and then they are looking at me getting beaten, or they are looking at my relative getting beaten, or they are the ones abducting a relative in a marked car and taking him to places unknown. So those are some of the details that we have to deal with, and the Zambians must say no to that kind of life. That kind of life should never be there. You know, when in these countries that we are here, even at someone very vicious, they will say, hey, you've gone too far. What about someone getting a machete and on his full view, and that guy sees the end of the day? Where are they? No one is talking about them. Look at the way they jumped in Benue. So those are some of the things that we need to work on. And you talked about the 21 million food security. I think 21 million kwacha for food security. I don't know what that may be for. So I think quickly on that is what I can say on those matters. But UPND, they love to manipulate information and now jump on it, blow it up. They've already organized people to go and report, and meanwhile, you know.
The must. They are quoting Chanda Katotowe, PEP president, who took over from Sean Tembo, and his former Wapula MP, is saying ECZ is not credible. He made these remarks when he met the European Union. He also talked about the issues of poll staff. Then the military is ready to maintain peace, says government. And then robbery suspected in Chaminuka Boss murder. And HH is ready to use underhand methods, Bob Schinga. That is the must. Would you like to comment anything on ECZ? I think this is where, let me bring what our dear brother wants to discuss. Dr. Sampam has given us that voter education material from ECZ, where clearly all their voter education material for the last 64 years have been encouraging a mark And now all of a sudden, there was an emphasis with a statement from both the commission and I think the ECZ chairperson that a tick is valid, and it raised a storm among stakeholders. Let's start with you, Dr. Sampa.
So, Ambassador, you see that picture there? That picture was sent to me by one of the educators this year, not that it was taken last year, this year. One of the educators sent me that. Now, when you look at that voter education, they have been teaching people to be putting an X. Now, I want you to look at the lower box. It is saying spicy salt. You remember last time when I was mentioning that the UPND have been trying to subconsciously condition people into having this thing of their slogan, Sot Sana. So even in their education, they put spicy salt versus ABCDE. Now, spicy salt, the UPND has been using the word salt.
Just look. So, in the box down here, there is Mango Jelita from the ABCD party, and the bus is her symbol, and they are teaching how to vote. Mango Jelita is facing Spicy Salt, who comes from a political party, YXYZ, and the motorbike with a man on top is his symbol. So I think you're trying to make the point of introducing this word spicy salt in voter education material by ECZ.
Yes, so you see, the voter education material, spicy salt may seem like just another word, but I can tell you that when you go into psychology, small things is what matters. So the same word salt, and the UPND has been using Sot Sana, and that just this spicy salt was also another way of the UPND campaigning to the people. Not only did they end there, the good thing that I liked about the reports I got, people were refusing to be given these papers in Chingola. They were saying that, why is there salt here? We don't want Sot Sana. People are refusing when they see salt. And that is a good report because it shows that the Zambians have opened up their eyes and they don't want to be hoodwinked into doing something wrong. Unfortunately, this government is still backwards. They think that Zambians are backwards and they don't know what's happening. Look, when you look at the ECZ and what they are doing now, saying that now anybody can put any mark, when in these papers, these are their papers for this year, they put that it is supposed to be a cross. So does it mean the ECZ has just realized 4 days or 5 days before elections, that's when they realized that these other marks were valid? The answer is no, unless something else has changed, which is not going according to plan. That's why there is a lot of speculations. During a period like this, you can't start changing the rules in the middle of almost starting the game, then you start changing the rules. It brings a lot of questions. People start asking, okay, could it be one of the people, some people who are suspecting are saying maybe they've got certain pre-marked ballots and then they are marked with another mark apart from X. Maybe that could be the reason why they want the other marks to be accepted. And now you see people are bringing up pictures of Tanzanian elections where there is a mark where you just put like the same mark they are saying is now eligible. And people have been talking about no ballots coming from Tanzania and all that. So to avoid all this government was just supposed to stick to what is there. Because what we need to know, Ambassador, is this. Whatever we are seeing, it's not ECZ making those decisions. It is in tandem with the UPND government. So because it's being done with the UPND government, everything that is being done is trying to favor the ruling government. So to avoid all this government must make sure they just stick to the X, and we should urge our people to just go with the X. Because if you have got a standard, then it will be very easy to come out and see if there's a deviation from that standard. You can't just allow anything that comes. There should be a standard. Now, I don't know whether on this one I can talk about the issue of the announcement of results, because I wanted to add to this same thing because it's ECZ. Ambassador, is it okay if I go ahead?
So we have the Daily Nation that's talking about the mark. So I'll encourage you come and bring those matters that time.
Okay. Yeah. So
let me take what PS. What's your view about the must.
Okay. Well, Ambassador, what is shocking is that he's trying to fix what is not broken. What is broken from our system of using the X? What specific defect is in the existing voting system that we are correcting? Where is the evidence that this system, the current system where we put an X, is failing? And why it makes such major electoral changes close to an election? Why should you do that? These issues of Wika politic and everything were not discussed with stakeholders even when they were preparing. They just come from somewhere. Why are we trying to fix what is not broken? Why are we trying to bring in confusion? And why should voters trust this change that where they've not demanded for it? I didn't see anyone who rise up, or even any stakeholders, because electoral system has stakeholders. I did not hear any political parties where they called for a stakeholder consultative process where they say, "Bane, to change a fee because we have seen ABCD. This is what we've researched on. These are the results of the research." When did they do that? They've not done that. ECZ wants to take, they want to manage a process without the consultation of the people they're managing for. They are just a vehicle for running elections. They are not the election themselves. So they are trying to fix what is not broken. And if they later have problems, how would you redesign an electoral engine while the vehicle is already on the road? You can't do these things. If you are Mwamba, they are trying to rationalize it and go now to the rules in the regulations. No, here it is May, here is Chow, therefore we are okay. You are not okay, guys. Leave the process the way it is, because you cannot fix, you are fixing what is not broken. No one has complained that it's actually Womba. If you want to do that,
after monitoring various elections, ECZ, if they had no ill intention, what they were going to say is that they look for the intention of the voter. The voter may put any mark, an X, a dash, a tick, anything. And that is done in the entire line. Let me look for Doc's document. So, if this X was even on the bus or on ABCD or on Mango Gelita, the presiding officer will look for the intention of the voter. What did the voter want to say? If it's a mark, if it's a tick in that line, it's a valid vote. But the suspicion is from ECZ. Why mention, not in the manner I've put it, that you're looking for the intention of the voter? Because that's what you are supposed to. So the voter, some even put a 1, some will put a 2, some will write a name. The issue is the intention of the voter. But ECZ specifically just came out that now the tick is accepted. Of course it is accepted, but where the problem is? UPND have been using Kwenyu, that's a tick. And now there's an allegation that the ballots from Tanzania are pre-marked, with a tick. So then you've raised a storm. And what first you've committed a crime, then you talk about the crime. Atakadwa kamilandu kala isosela because if it was just about the intention, according to the law, they wouldn't have just said the tick. They would have talked about any mark in the box of the candidate. Then people have said, yeah, I think that is okay. And like Dr. Sampa said, all along for the last 6 years, you have told us it's an X. In fact, the opposite, any party do exploit that in rural areas where people are not educated. ati ngamamu kuvota mukabokoshi mulia ifina mumupata ichilema mwe mumukansule you know, that is one of the ways in which they mislead our people. The issue is that it has been annexed. In fact, like Sishua mentioned, even the law specifically just doesn't talk about any mark, but it identifies the X as one of the best ways to vote. As a reason, in fact, as a valid way to vote. Although in regulations, like we were saying, the mark any mark is accepted as to mean the intention of the voter. Let me bring the other paper.
Ambassador, quickly. Before we go from that, I think I can add something. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to add is this. When you look at the mark and everything, if the UPND were genuine and the ECZ were genuine, all this time, they would have already taught the people, and in their teachings, they would have already taught that it could be any mark. Like you have said, there wasn't supposed to be any specific mark. They would have said, if you want, you can put a line, if you want to, as long as the intention is able to be identified. But the fact that this is happening after the ballots have arrived, and a few days after arrival of the ballots, that raises a lot of questions. Because could it be that now whatever was expected is opposite from what was taught? Because they were teaching people to put an X. It is them who are teaching people to put an X. So how then do they expect that one press briefing is going to change the mindset of all these Zambians they were teaching in rural areas for the past months? They are going now to listen from that press briefing and the presser, they issue a statement that everyone will read it and know that now they can put anything. So that in itself is confusion, and that in itself raises a lot of questions. It is okay to tell people to use anything, but to be specific and say that this is the specific one we should use, that is where the problem is. So we should all be on the lookout, because these are some of the things that are telltale signs of what may come on 13th August.
Yeah, thank you. The state-owned newspaper, let me take the line. This caller has been very persistent. Let me, in case maybe they could be busy, they want to rush somewhere and they want to take the call, that we take the call right now. This is before I open the phone lines. But the caller has been calling. Let's hear what the caller wished to share with us. Good morning, and tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Oh, hi. Good morning. This is Dr. K from California.
Oh, just a minute, Dr. K. This is Professor, I think this is Professor Kalonde, Dr. Kalonde from Montana University. Now you're back in California. Bakalamba, landenipo.
Natasha San, Navakalamba. Thank you so much to the panel. Everything they're saying is very important for the nation to hear, and at the same time to understand why we should do what we're supposed to be done. I have a few things to say about the changing of the goalpost by the ECZ, changing the mark from X to a check mark, or both. I think that one we should outright say no. Even if it's too late, we know what they want to do. They have ballot boxes that have come in from somewhere that we don't know, and they realize that this ballot box, papers marked with this check mark. So let's just also introduce this check mark at this late hour, 11th hour, and say we can use that. And even if nobody uses that, they will pretend like other people had used that mark. It's not right, Wamamba. It's not right. These people, the UPND, they've hurt Zambians for quite some time. 5 years is too long to be hating Zambians. I know this is not part of the topic, but this is something that Zambians must realize. When these people were asked to debate and discuss the cost of living in Zambia by one of the MPs from, I think, in Northern Olopra province. Is it, what's his name? It's gone. When he asked them to discuss that, what did they do? They walked away from the people of Zambia. They literally walked away from the people of Zambia. Yes, today they are talking about Binwe Mpundu, who stayed and wanted to deliberate about the standard of living, the cost of living in Zambia. And now we have to discuss one word that probably he did not even utter, or he uttered by mistake. Yes, people have uttered things in anger by mistake. How many times do you think HH can be discussed if we are to discuss these other issues that have taken place in Zambia? And he has uttered things that were reckless. This is the man who kept another dead body for 1 year in the morgue. And we're supposed to listen to him? My daughter would say, hell no. Even if she's not a Zambian yet, I think. But let's try to make sure that these elections, instead of Barry will fix it, Zambians must fix him. Seriously. They must fix him. Let him walk out. In fact, the goodness is, I don't know how it's going to work. He's not going to be at State House. He's going to be at his home. Supposedly his home, because he turned it into State House, so that one also must be discussed. Because we spent money on that building. I don't know if this country is our country is going to be a country anymore if we are to give HH another 5 years. It saddens me that our country has taken this direction after these other presidents did the best they can do for Zambia. And all of a sudden, let's try this person. He has tried four times. Let's try him this time to see if he can do a good job. Maybe he can, only to find that it was a lie. It was a lie. I even wonder people who are still supporting him. I even sorry to say this for Mwambana Papa Tamunjereleko. If I was a member of the Seventh-day Adventist, I would be crying every day in church to remove him as an elder. I'm sorry to say this, but that's the truth. I wouldn't have an elder of that kind in my church. I'm sorry. The people that are disappearing, we are talking about disappearing. When did Zambia experience disappearing like we are doing right now? When? Never. Mamwamba, sorry to say this. I was Copperbelt Youth Chairman for MMD. I never did that. We were civil. As Copperbelt Youth Chairman, I had so much powers. But I respected people like they respected me. And the president, both Chilubandi and Mwanawasa, they did not lead us into doing things that UPND is doing now. If people don't vote out HH, I'm telling you, anyway, sorry, they are voting him out. If he doesn't leave his position, he's got in trouble for the country. We can't accept that.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It looks like we are being overtaken by our callers. Let's quickly. So there is, quoting Brad Munduwile's press conference, the Daily Nation is saying that ECZ should should stick to, the cross, and they've rejected the tick. Times of Zambia, leading with Zambians have decided, this is the UPND Secretary General who's stating, no, I think it's the president, it's President Hakainde Hichilema, who's stating that Zambians have decided to support him. Our newspaper, EMV newspaper, is leading with the demise of Chaminuka Resort CEO. I thought that this was very important to highlight. This death has significant implication in the discourse towards elections and way after elections. There's also another matter where Chanda Katotowe is saying Munduwile has a runaway lead. The lines are open. Let's quickly get you. It's in the morning, it's breakfast, and probably you are burning to speak. Just call the number listed and we get going. Dr. Sampa, let me bring you in.
Yes. So, Ambassador, I wanted to talk about one important aspect, which we overlooked when we were starting. You asked a very important question, and I think we didn't answer it sufficiently. You asked about why is it that we've had so many deaths from the opposition, but no one seems to be talking about them. You were even struggling to mention the 7 people who have died within a space of 2 months. Meanwhile, the president has been able to mention people who died in a period of 5 years from 2016, and he keeps mentioning them. You see, Ambassador, we've got some people in psychiatry. It's not a psychiatric diagnosis, but it is a term used to refer to people who can't let go of the past, and they use past offenses and they keep dwelling on this past. They can't let go. So these people have got what we call obsessive rumination. So these people with obsessive rumination, they end up dwelling in the past. You see, they are so good at it that they never forget. What we are experiencing right now is a president who, anything wrong that happened, whether it was related to politics or not, as long as he feels it is going to add to his own gain, he keeps mentioning it. Ambassador, I want to put this on record today, and I want our listeners to pay attention to this. The deaths you mentioned, for instance, the girl who died,
Caller, please hold on. Let Dr. Sampa finish. I'll get back to you.
So, Ambassador was saying, I want our listeners to listen very well, because we need to put this straight and make sure that people understand where we are coming from. The girl who died at the University of Zambia was not a politician, was not a UPND. It's an assumption to say she was UPND. When I was at the University of Zambia, we used to have cases when there is a riot or anything.
This is the case of Vespers Simuzila.
Vespers, yes.
Yeah.
So what used to happen at the University of Zambia, whenever the police come, it is known for years, the police would throw tear gas in the rooms. Even in the room where I was staying in the ruins, the ones threw tear gas there, and we started suffocating. It happens always whenever there is a riot. That happened for us, it was during MMD. Some people who had asthma died because they had the reactions and they ended up having attacks. Others died, but nobody talked about them. When that happened to Vespers, we regret whatever happened, and it was bad. A death is a death. Everyone feels bad about it, and I feel bad that that had to happen. However, that was not because the PF came there to kill the UPND. No, it was the police versus the students. That happens several times. When we go to what happened to the prosecutor, the one who died, who was accidentally shot next to High Court near that restaurant. Again, those are accidents which were happening during an altercation, but that person was not even UPND. And these things do happen, accidents do happen everywhere. When in the line of duty, the police sometimes end up discharging guns. That is not to justify, but I wanted to be put on record that this was not the PF killing the UPND. Now, we've got specific examples of the UPND killing the PF, like Kungo. That had nothing to do with anything else, but it was just the UPND going and getting Kungo and killing him in broad daylight. We've got the gentleman who was just killed recently, a Tonse member. He was not even a Tonse member, but he was killed because he was playing a Tonse song. and he was killed. We also have got other people who've been killed for just merely supporting Tonse. But these leaders of Tonse, they don't want to rule the country using hatred. This is what HH has done. HH has really divided the country because he came through hatred. He came through preaching hate, using these terms like us and them. They were killing us, they were doing this to us. And even when he came, he had to maintain that level of hatred for him to survive. That's why at the moment, it is very difficult for him to campaign against Mundubile because Mundubile is not preaching hatred. Mundubile is going there respecting him. So he's confused like, how do you respond to such a person who is calling you his excellence? How do you respond to somebody who is not calling you names? Somebody who is just basing their campaign on issues. So people should be able to differentiate. And at this level we are at, like Professor Kalonde said, if this government was to be allowed to go another 5 years, Ambassador, I can tell you, in that country, first to start with, I fear for Mundubile's life. I fear for Binwell's life. I fear for the MPs for Tonse, because all the MPs they are going to have, they are going to grab their seats with impunity. The same way they did to Malanji, the same way they did to Boma Lusambo. They could remain no MP from the opposition if the UPND were to win. And there would be no democracy. So people need to realize that 13th August is between democracy and dictatorship. If you choose Mundubile, you are choosing democracy. You choose Hakainde, you are choosing dictatorship. And this is how dictatorship is done. It doesn't, even Hitler was voted in overwhelmingly. That's what people need to remember. Hitler didn't come from without. He was voted in by the Germans. They thought he was the best. The same way Zambians voted for Hakainde and they thought he was the best. But Hakainde has shown dictatorial tendencies. And if he's not removed on 13th, it will be a problem.
Yeah, just a minute. There are so many calls trying to come in. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Okay, good morning. This is Deska calling from Lusaka, Matero. In this case, at this stage where we are now, what ECZ is doing, to be honest, is bad, and we call it electoral malpractice. You know, to all those of us who went to school, at least we have information concerning what civic education talks about. You know, for any election, there is what we call electoral process. So now there is a time frame for ECZ to do what, to sensitize people. Now at this hour, how possible are they to say we can even use a tick on the ballot, which is totally misleading the people. For example, there are certain areas where there is no network, there is no people there. They are not active on social media, and then it is very impossible for them to switch the issue of the way of voting from X to a tick, and then. What is on public domain, to be honest, UPND Cornelius Mweetwa is on public domain. He promised to say 2026 there will be more and more imingalato. And this is the kind of exactly imingalato that he talks about. When we hear to say there are pre-marked ballot papers which were being printed somewhere, maybe Tanzania or anywhere else, this is exactly what Cornelius Mweetwa talked about, to say in 2026 there will be more and more imingalato. And as Zambians, the problem is that we don't pay attention. Even this one, mark my words, Emmanuel Mwamba, this issue of a tick is going to go through. And then if those stakeholders will allow this issue to go through, automatically UPND has won this election through Imingalato. And that's what is based on what they are doing, to do Imingalato every time. Those people are at ECZ, they are appointees by HH. HH is the one who appointed those people. And in fact, in conclusion, to give others chance, I would say so much in appointments, whereby you find the entire country has 10 provinces, but you find that only 3 provinces people are being chosen, are being given position. That's the reason why, even this time around, if other people from other section of our society, if they say something, automatically police will rush and arrest those people. But people from these 3 regions, if they say something, They are shielded. No one can report those people. They are being protected. So if we can allow HH to go through this year's election, I'm telling you, Zambia will not be called Zambia as a peaceful country the way we used to be called Zambia as a Christian nation. Thank you very much. Can I have a conversation on the background, please?
Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Am I offline? I want to have a conversation offline.
You are online. Or you want to speak to me offline?
Let me have something quickly online. Then I will equally want to speak to you offline, please.
That's okay. I'll call you then. Let's just give other people time. This is a breakfast show. We're supposed to end very quickly.
Thank you very much.
I'll call you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution. Hello, caller.
Hello, good. Kuna ruchero. Mwashibukeni wa ambassador.
Ntamkwai mwashibukeni.
Awona tubuka fevwino pa nono. Mone file chitika muri chino charo. I will remain anonymous, ambassador. Mkwai. Just to comment on the issue ya mivotere, the tick. Ineba ambassador, my take on this matter is that President Abenebeka n'abalufya abantu. Ngamwamona muma campaign yabo. Iyi ne kwenyu baleta n'abalufya nyama voters babo. Necho ndera ndirefi. Monso mubaya tabasambirisha ama voters babo efya kuvota babe bati unomwaka tulevota suti. Tulevota suti kansela kwenyu kuchonga. Kansela kwenyu. MP kwenyu, mayor kwenyu, president kwenyu. So inamukumona kwandi n'abamona ati awe apana atulufya ama voters kukala baba kalachonga. So okuchira tuluse ama votes, it's better by ECZ musuminishe ukuchonga pama ballot. And then issue ya ma arrests ayo tulemona. Inende mona kwati barefu afya okuchita strip off ba brand munduro kwe bati bashale beka ababa binu mpundu I video so stadinga chakwe bati babinu mpundu ida video taite AI nibena awe chatu bipira bantu babinu okucheteba kalatu afwa okuchita monitor ma votes kunani kanoku ECZ. So inena mona they are so happy and they are going to act quickly on him using bakapokola pakwe bati tukabeka report chika bakwati fidiari gari nkombo 2021 pero bale chita announce ama numbers ama votes ku ECZ. But at the end of the day fyonse tufibikire fe maka ya kwalesa ba ambassador mwamba because confidence bakweta abantu it's like nabeshi babene mingala to bachaire. They are so overconfident ambassador nangwa sanga pa di group ya abakuru bakuru muri ne party they are so overconfident, but if it was a minwe akwalesa. But not total ambassador mwamba mugombe.
Thank you very much. We'll take 2 more calls, then we begin to wind down. I'll get comments from my guests. Let's see. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution. Oh, their line is cut. Let me take another call. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Ambassador, good morning.
And good morning.
Yes, you are speaking to Mr. Mlenga.
Make your contribution, my brother.
Yes. Someone, it's so sad. You know, I think the request I'm making to the legal team within the Tonse Alliance is that, you know, this is guided in the Constitution. We have been voting using the X. I think just today they can intervene by going to the Constitutional Court so that immediately this is interpreted. We can't start using what we have not been using in terms of voting. What we know is the X. Even in the unique government where we had one party state, it was the X.
So why are we changing goalposts now? You know that when these people, when they are doing something, they are predetermined. You can know that the movement is from this point to the other point. That is how UPND behaves. So that when they know what they have done, they have been talking about the rumors that they have these pre-marked ballot papers from Tanzania, meaning that maybe they have even put the Kwenyu there by the mark. It's already there, and they want to bring them in. I think the legal team should fight to ensure that this does not come into play. We should stick to the X, the way we have been voting. UPND government and its cadres have gone too far. I'm now getting to the issue of the statement or the video by Honorable Benue Ompuntu. You know the way they have talked about this issue. They want to bring it to be so big, forgetting that they are Karufianya.
Oh, the caller is cut. So sorry. I think the network in Zambia.
No, I'm sorry. I was disturbed. So
Oh, sorry. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Ambassador, is it good morning or good evening?
Good morning to Zambia. This is a Zambian audience.
Oh, thank you very much. Ambassador, the Ishama election, it's very easy to follow the booklet here, UPND. From the beginning, UPND came into power, the political script, the PF, and other things. Now, when it comes to this election, when we saw yesterday that video for Benue Ompuntu, which is exactly, it's AI, it's a script. They know exactly what they are doing. If you remember, they have taken away the security, the critical people. Even the getting Martha Lungu yesterday, ambassador. You see, it's a script. They have got a political script which they don't even care about it. So that they cripple President Blind Mundubila and Makebi Zulu, Babapuke Avanto by very critical around them. Now, each into ambassador, that's why in West Africa, some of the countries that fall Bali Pusananama Western world. You know, the Western world only support, they only come to support and condemn when things they go against their interest. Here in Zambia, because HH he had done his homework by giving mines to this Western world. You know, the Tony Brairs, the Canadians, even the ECU is contaminated into Zambian issue. That's why I found even observers and other things. But Ambassador, if you look about what was happening, when President Hakainde was arrested in 2017, very quick, Patricia Scotland was in Zambia. They even appointed an envoy by Professor Gambara to come and imitate. People were coming, just an opposition coming to discuss. It was world over in the media. Now, since President Hakainde Hichilema he has made this Western to benefit, see what is happening. Just imagine.
Hello. Oh, we've lost a caller. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Daniel from Cape.
Daniel from Cape Town, make your contribution. You are our last caller.
Thank you. I would love to speak about the police. My contribution is that I think we've forgotten, so Eddie, that UPND was rumored to have trained 4,000 police officers. These 4,000 police officers who came from the database, no one has followed up this case. asking where they are and what has happened to them. Now, all these brutalities we are seeing is in the name of those 4,000 police officers who have been blended in the police system that we have in Zambia. Now, this is where we see masked police officers who don't want to be identified. They are coming from the 4,000 and they are there to just kidnap people and taking them to places which are not known, because those police officers are working for the UPND. Now, this thing makes it difficult for the police officers who are professionals to do their job, because at the time they arrive at the scene, they will hear the police were here, they took this person to somewhere where they will fail to answer to which place they've taken the person. So I think as Zambians, we lack that thing of following up issues to say, or asking to say about the 4,000 police officers, where are they? So they don't worry about anything. They are there to destroy and push HH into power again. So I'm urging Ratonse, be extra careful. As you are going, yes, we are going to campaign, but these 3 days, be extra careful. Even the 15 people that went to murder that person, you could see that this is what is coming into play. Thank you very much, Honorable.
Thank you very much. The caller is back. We had missed. He got cut. Let me just take. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from, and make your contribution.
Thank you very much.
Hello, caller. Not you, caller. There's another caller here. Yes, caller.
Mr. Ambassador, mwamukashani mwashukeni.
Endita mayo. Landeni poni mwe banu mukwai, make your contribution.
Never nameless as usual. Anyway, Mr. Ambassador, surely the worry has grown. Yeah, we common people are so much looked down because of being so obedient, and we are foolishly looked at like we are just, animals, and we are very much taken, for granted. There is this gullibility which doesn't seem to end, but we are soon ending it, Bamwamba. It's just a matter of few days. And we just have to, go and vote, cast the vote. Bamwamba, my interpretation of Babinwe Mpundu's remarks, from my side, from my point of view, I've interpreted it differently. Yeah. What he simply meant was, if you touch me, I shall defend myself. Bamwamba, when a lion is about to charge, you have to be ready to defend yourself. No baba bantu Bamwamba, inelo nale kulana kiro copper belt.
Those ants that are the red ants. Gishila suma mayo, shila kuela sha suma ola.
Nomba mwenye mondelo shani mukuti, nabali mfomu, silekenye nande nomba mchivemba. Impashinga sha kusuma, sha kuingira. Bamwamba kula bokufule fya kufuana. Ulefuana mtamlefuaya. Ufulefya kufwala washara fyubwamba wala kutanka fingeshu waluga ninshira so abantu ko beminine impashina shiva suma no balale fuma yikishini chintu chonse ichangwa ibati afunye mpashi pamubiri ifimu mwene bali chitefi kata pakwe bati no mbaba fule fyonse fi epo bashikire Bamwamba fingi tumfwa abantu batukana n'ekitumbi tabatala imapulama bakatulinya kunatuka ekitumbi kali bini wawo mpunda kuba yeyini n'amabaka shame upon them Bamwamba Shame upon them, I'm speaking loudly. Who in Tungurushi, thank you.
Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from. You are the one that I said is back. We had lost you. You got cut.
Thank you, Ambassador Mwamba. Thank you very much.
Quickly wind up your thoughts. Now.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now, Mwishiva Kabiri, Ambassador, Tushufu, and so forth. Allah, no, Nila so for Ilina Twishiva, Masamba Filabala, and Matusha Koma, Imomuli Fikole, Ilina Nadikuleri Ashiri. I was trying to finish my points about the West. I was still like saying, the reason why some of the countries in West Africa, Tabale Umfana, Nabanenso Babaku Europe, because of their double standard. What they do, something Mamona Posa Kosana Mano, Nishina Wata interest. Election yes, Zambia, for the first time, we have seen the West, even the Americans themselves, they are so mad on whatever is happening. Mamamba, we cannot have that level of brutal violence and killing in Zambia in election. We have got everybody is quiet. It's because President Hakainde Hichilema ali tushitishakale ali bapela mines those mineral loyalties and other things are making, so they're being conflicted into this. Now, I move on to mark on the ballot paper. Us who have been polling agents and monitors, Fidefin Tumulo Wava X, but Padapa polling station, Abantunga Bavota, even when I am stakeholders there, you check and agree the way we have voted for Chilemba Mudamukat. What was he meaning? What was his intention? It's not for the ECZ to come and change whatever it is in the law and introduce something else. Sometimes line mukati wino limbati pamuntu wa muntoja mwalasta agree wino mlamkati mwamfana kwebati. This is a valid word. Now filaba ECZ baisambo kulando kwebati no we replace the ticking against the mark the X constitution. So once some does since nabalete fya kuba ba ECZ abe nama voters wonse tufeto abovya X iyo ya kutongeyo na batonga kali ama ballot papers. That's why they're talking about to have targeted 5 million. But itonga kali 5 million they've done all their homework against Zambian Tafilia.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my dear brother. Thank you so much. We are coming to the end of the program. I'm mindful, I don't want to keep my guests so long. It's extremely late where we are. So I want us to be doing at least 2 hours for them so that you can have them and their views tomorrow. But if we keep them for a long time, it will be very difficult. We know Nkumatero and we need the Mato, but let's see what we can do. So let me bring my guests. They make their comments and then we close the program. Let's start with PS Kazia. Your remarks about any of the day's events, the comments from our callers, and then you make your last contributions.
Wow. 2 things were Ambassador. One is some election material. You see, if you're to go at this, the change that they want to bring in, what is the mischief that they try to solve by bringing in to say number ukuchonga, and how did they arrive at you must tick? I agree with what you said. That if they had just said that, you must be clear with who you are choosing, but now, which means they've said ukuchonga or X. when was that kind of conversation done to make sure that the stakeholders, the political parties that are participating, agree to that? Because what I've realized that the Electoral Commission seems to give themselves this so much power over the people that they're administering for and on behalf. And this is where the problem is, because they are just imposing things on people. Nanga abantu bakana kumulisha kumunga mwakana tola mletela bakapokola bakana balanda potwala bekata. And this level of brutality on the citizens because they are saying no. Nababene able to level and that my praise singers. They are also scared, Bamamba. They are so scared as well. They are scared because they don't know what to expect. Ngakana fear. Ngakana praise singer and anyone who is in their line akan. The wheels of the so-called elite within the UPND, Bala Mchitra organizer, they will pounce on them. Just look at how they have beaten each other up. Kuma independent candidates who were very prominent members of UPND, they moved on, they pounced on them. And these people are refusing certain things that the UPND is imposing. And specifically the person driving them is the president. There's no one else. And that is why it is a bigger problem, because he's using so much power to do what he wants to do, but he must be stopped. And if as citizens, we do not stand up and say, we have agreed the way we have been voting for 60 years, there is no mischief in what he's doing. To legislate X, this is what we have agreed on. And the political parties have heard only the statement from President Branmund. We have not heard from others. I don't know if you heard others speak about it. And they must all unify with one voice. The problem comes that in Ngamwati unify, they find a sellout, the way they've done with other people that they've adopted from the PF. Baba mu alliance about PF. If Balanda in an alliance, but this alliance that they are in, they are the people that they will insult right in their faces, which means they don't care about them and things like that. But I think it is important that for the voting symbol, X, which Dr. Brian has even said that it is in their training manual. Why are they running away from that? Those questions they must answer. Why do they want to run away from that? But I think we must push forward to say we must stick with X. Then the other things on the abductions must stop. Let's expose whoever is who's being part of the abductions, Mama. We need to name and shame, capture them, throw them there so that people can see that was in Daily Brian. And then these people must be held accountable to tell us who gave instructions, why are they doing what they're doing. That is on the abductions. On the death, Lasadanis, it's very regrettable. This death is not just like any other death. It must be investigated. Let's give it maybe a day or two to hear what the police are going to say in the investigation. When we see them quiet, they're not doing anything, we should know that they are involved. This is a very high profile. That place is heavily guarded. You can't just walk in there and shoot that guy and kill him without trace. It is impossible. If government is not going to come out clean on this, making sure that they give the status on that high profile murder case, give us the updates, give us what they've investigated, how it happened, who the suspects could be. If they don't have, they need to update us. If they become quiet, when you see them quiet, know that they are part of, they are involved in a way, and we shall hold them accountable for being quiet. They need to run with this and make sure that the perpetrators are brought to book. They need to bring the people that did this heinous crime to book. All the soldiers getting involved with Danny as the security, we need also to know which these vehicles, who was using them. And the family, please, to the family, Yaba Mwira, and the family, and the Danny, please do everything that is within your power to find out where they've taken our colleague. There's no way the soldiers should be part of the abduction. Vanemwema soldiers, you have no business in policing people. You know that. You can't be part of the people abducting them. Apparently, we're going to make our country very unsafe to govern. Elo, ukuikata abantu, mukeikata mukanaka, because even if you arrest, other people are going to come out and speak. And as Zambians, we must stand up and stop this level of government, because this is a government system that is working. To stop it, we need to vote them out. And the vote protection, we know they will stand up and want to disrupt those processes. We must stand firm and say no. Because once this process is allowed to go, that people are abducted, people just do what they want, we may not have any democracy remaining tomorrow. So we need to stand up for democracy and protect it. And when you see your friend being attacked, the next day it will be on you, it will be on your family. Let's stick up and stand up for our country. Let's remove this government that has failed to protect us, the government that has failed to unite the country.
Dr. Sampa, your reflections and your closing remarks.
So I will start with the commonest thing that we've been talking about the past days, which is the employment on rallies. Ambassador and the PS, it is becoming very common now. People are calling every day asking, what's your comment about this? Because the president just the other day employed people. Yesterday, he employed more people. Now, when you look at how many rallies the president has had, he's had more than 60 rallies, and almost all the rallies, he has employed everyone who was there. According to the president, earlier they had pronounced they were going to employ 2,600 people, but from the pronouncements of the employments, he might have employed more than 10,000, because he was saying everyone who is here who is unemployed, every volunteer in this district have employed them. So people are even more than that. So those are lies. Now, I'll qualify that. You see, I was privileged in 2011 when I was at the University of Zambia. I saw a situation exactly like what's happening under UPND. And that's how I know that UPND is going. You see, Bwezani became so desperate in 2011. He came to UNZA and employed everyone who was in fourth year. The teachers who were in fourth year before they wrote exams, they were employed. And the good thing with Bwezani was this: those employments were real. They received letters. They just got the names from the Department of Education, and the letters of employment were given. So those people even went and reported. Can you imagine that others, when the results came out after they completed, they had failed, but they were already on payroll. So they just started going back to school, but they were already teachers working, employed. Unlike Bwezani, who was not a liar, even in his desperation, he still employed people for real. But this president is simply lying, because none of these people have received any letter of employment. And they are not going to receive any letter of employment because there is no treasury authority. These people are just being told that you are going to be employed. Merely saying you are employed doesn't mean you are already employed. And this is the electoral malpractice we've been talking about. So I want to caution those people who are going to these rallies that you are just lying to yourselves. This is a person who has lied several times. Look at the people, the cholera people, the people who went to work at the cholera center. Up to date, they are not employed. And yet he went and pronounced that everyone here is employed. So how can someone fool you more than once and yet you keep on believing? Others are even celebrating. But the thing is, you come back and tell us, no, none of you is getting employed. Secondly, the students. Ambassador, I sent you a letter which was from one of the universities, which is university, it should be Levi Mwanawasa University. So today is a holiday for them because they have to go and give solidarity to the president. Now, when you look at the word solidarity, we only give solidarity if we want to stand with someone who is maybe in a disadvantaged place, or we feel they are being victimized, or something about them where they need someone to lean on. So if we are having these solidarity matches for the president, it is an admission that the president is in a bad shape. It means politically, the president needs help. That's why we are having solidarity marches. Why would you have solidarity marches if you are doing very fine politically? You've worked and you've been campaigning day and night, and yet you need to organize, pay people to come and do solidarity march. So this is an indication that the president knows he's leaving, and on 13th August, we know, Hakainde knows, he has been informed about that. That's why he keeps going back and forth. And I saw a very disturbing video yesterday where he was lying about Mundubile, that Mundubile was saying he's going to bring foreigners to go and do the gold mining, foreigners and people from Copper Belt. But when you watch what Mundubile said, Mundubile was saying he was going to give the mines to the youths, like he has always preached. But again, that was a divisive message, because how do you say foreigners and people from Copper Belt should not go to Northwestern Province to do mining? And that is coming from the president. Zambians should see this for what it is. Keke wonders, Manawasa wonders, Sata wonders, ECA wonders. I think everybody should see that by now. And come 13th August, we expect Zambians to come in numbers and vote out Mr. Hichilema, because he has really divided the country and he keeps on doing it. Now, the other thing that I really wanted to talk about was the cooking at the polling stations. Ambassador, we need to urge our people. They shouldn't allow anyone to cook at the polling station, because this is wrong. Why would they cook at the polling station as a political party? That shouldn't happen. Never has it ever happened anywhere. When people go for the polling station, at the polling station to do the voting, it is the political parties, individual political parties may bring food to their observers. Just like that. I remember in 2016, it was there. The people were taking food. Some people were brought food at Ridgeway campus. Those who were voting from there, and we could observe those things. So it is something that is done, but nobody comes as a political party and starts cooking from the polling station. So we should tell our people not to allow such. We know our people are more than these few people want to do illegalities. So our people should stop these ones who want to come and confuse others by cooking at the polling stations. The other thing is that the caller talked about the confidence that these people have. I want to assure that caller that they shouldn't worry. You know, there's what we call confidence ya lupemfu. Luno olupemfu lulalolera nangu ati abantu bakuuka mu ŋŋanda lulalolera ati bakabwera talukuuka lwena lwaishamu mwene mu ŋŋanda. You know, confidence nga nawo abantu nga bakwata confidence. It doesn't mean that for sure they are going to get what they want. Sometimes you may just have inflated confidence without any backing, and that is what is happening to the UPND. Yesterday I was speaking to one of the UPND officials. He told me personally, this is somebody I know, he told me things are bad on the ground and we are losing. And they know themselves, but when they come outside, they are going to be trying to make people think that they have got, some form of confidence. But they are reaching out to everyone who is in Tonse, because one, they want to be connected, two, they want to be protected. They know they have done a lot of illegalities. So, my sister, don't worry. The thing is that this confidence, it won't take them anywhere. The winning will be too big to rig. Because I can assure you, Mundubile is winning Northern, Muchinga, Luapula, Eastern, Lusaka, Copperbelt. You can't bank on 2 provinces, 3 provinces to be specific, and say I'm going to win an election. To start with, Hakainde had been winning the 3 provinces, but he never won an election. So even this year, when he wins these 3 provinces, he still won't win an election. He can win them, but he won't win them as big as he has been winning, because we know in Northwestern Province, Mundubile is loved because Mundubile is preaching things that people want to hear. Hakainde hate a lot of people in Northwestern Province. Western Province is the same. There is a growing number of people who are supporting Mundubile. Southern Province, we have people. So Mundubile doesn't really need to win these 3 provinces. All he needs are some people from these provinces. But we do know Mundubile has already taken Lusaka. He has taken Copperbelt. He has taken Northern Muchinga, Luapula, Eastern. And now he will flip Kapiri. Because the way Kapiri is going now, it will be flipped. And once he flips Kapiri, he is taking the entire Central. And if that happens, there may be no need to even announce the other provinces. Because from our analysis, this is something that is going to change everything. And Mundubile is winning. So you shouldn't worry about the confidence. About the Western world, The Western world will always look for their interests, like you said, my brother. The thing is this, we don't need to worry about them. Mundube is doing just fine by not associating himself with them. We need an indigenous leader who is not supported or sponsored by anybody. Because remember, whoever is going to say, let me stand with you, Mundubile, a foreigner, they are going to demand something in return. And we don't want Mundubile to be bought just like Hakainde. We want a person like Mundubile who is sponsored by Zambians, somebody who's going to stand for Zambians. That's why Mundubile is free to talk about investors and call them out for the wrongs they are doing, which Hakainde can never do. Have you ever heard Hakainde go on the podium and threaten investors? He can't, because the same investors are the ones who sponsored him. So we should be proud that Mundubile is locally sponsored. I think my last words are that on 13th, let's make sure Zambians vote for Mundubile so that we can bring about real change.
Zambia, 3 days to go.
I want to add, Kuliba Brian, he has brought in one thing that I forgot as well. Very important. Remember, this aspect of going to Northwestern province and talk about the gold mining. That, okay, we want to be, if you ever president, there I want to be faithful before this thing. You shouldn't be doing those things. You went there, you gave out the mine in the first instance. People went to there, they were beaten, people were shot dead. You went there to say there is nothing like illegal mining here. You chased them from Kikonge. And then you go back and tell them to say, no, Brian, when did Brian fail to fulfill his part of the deal? And when you tell people to say, I'm a copper belt, they should. Me, I was particularly worried when he says foreigners and people from copper belt. Do you mean that people from copper belt are foreigners in Northwestern province? When did we start having certain Zambians not to go to certain parts of another Zambia? Really? That was very concerning. That was very, very concerning. And the manipulation of people, just say what you want to do for them in as far as the mining is concerned. Don't bring in an innocent person and lump him for things he has not said. Now, he's forgetting that there is VAR. And VAR goes back to bring what the person has said and what you've said. Put them there for the people to judge. And right now, that is not good. You can't be this divisive, Mr. President. We need you to unify, even in the last days that you have. Speak unity. That would be so good. The employment of people on the platform. I am an HR practitioner, public service, employment specialist. I've done a lot of that. President because that is not how things work. To say, oh, no, sugarcoating it. Listen, that is not how employment works in public service. Even when employment is in the name of the president, the systems of employment in public service are not the way the president is announcing them. And even the people around the president, they know that that is not correct. But president is not being honest with you. So let's listen, let's resolve poverty. There is a way that people are going to create employment. Let it not be for political expedience. It's important to just bring out what has been done. Yesterday I was over the weekend on Saturday I was in one of the blog which is called Reddit, which is basically a UPND on that forum. And they asked me a question that give us the 5 years of the analysis of what the PF did and the 5 years of what the UPND did. Tell us what the failures are and the successes. By the time I was exhausting my list of successes, when I started from infrastructure, talked about roads, police houses, bridges, power generation capacities, hospitals, schools, roads, and the bridges. It was too much. That's at the they ran away. So it is important that we become truthful. We hold these people accountable. And Brian, thank you very much for inspiring the message that you've done. I can't put it better than you have put it. You have really summarized it in a better way than I would put it. So I'm very glad the way you have put it, because that is exactly how the information must be able to flow. Bamwamba, that is what I wanted to add on that, on the submission from Dr. Branson.
Indeed, Mwantwa Kwalesa, thank you very much, and thank you for your sacrifice this late hour in our case. And to our dear audience in Zambia, good morning, and thank you for listening to us and making this program your premier breakfast program. We'll be back in the evenings with Dr. Grieve Chelwa. He launched a book on the IMF. We are dissecting that book and its relation to, I think, our election and just the ramifications of economies in Africa. It's a very powerful book. That's what we'll be reviewing. God bless you, and we'll speak to you later, family.
Thank you.